Ultimately, councilors voted 7-5, approving $2 million to be moved from the Portland Police Bureau over to Parks and Recreation.
This is not about reducing police effectiveness. It is about a balanced approach to public safety that includes well-maintained parks where families feel safe gathering.
This is not a cut to police. There will not be a single officer laid off.
At this point, we're anticipating an 80% cut in those positions, as well as almost a $6 million cut in our external materials and services, which is the money we use to both pay for training as well as purchase equipment to support the critical infrastructure of the organization, and then nearly $2 million cut to overtime, which will result in about 20,000 hours less of police officers on the streets in the city of Portland.
The proposed budget shows the Portland Police Bureau will see more than $21 million in cuts.
And through the 5 stages of grief about 48 times in the last week. I'm saddened by it. I'm looking back at our annual reports to 2005. We've identified 157 police officer positions have been cut going back almost 2 decades, as well as an estimate of about 60 non-sworn positions have been cut. So in the same time frame, the city's grown by about 20%.
Statistically, polls show the vast majority of Portlanders, 66% in the last poll, are not in support of defunding the police. Yet the vast majority of voices heard today on this call, a full 90%, actually a little bit over now, are in favor of this defunding. There is no question this is not a cross-section of our city's opinion.
You're not familiar with the concept of the doom loop? It's when a city creates a situation where less tax revenue is coming in. Businesses are leaving. Wealthy people are leaving. Whatever it is supporting tax revenue is gone. And then cuts have to be made. So now you've got less city services, and the folks that are left are going to have to pay more in taxes for less city services, creating this just ever downward spiral. And that's what we're watching in real time in Portland, Oregon. Today's podcast is on the police department, one of the most critical entities because it handles public safety. And if you don't have public safety in your community, I don't care where you are, then you're going to be in this never-ending doom loop because you don't have the ability to provide a safe environment that businesses want to go into, that people want to invest in. You've got the opposite. It's like, oh, good Lord, Portland, Oregon? No. Let's go anywhere else but Portland, Oregon. And that's what investors are saying. And that is why you've got less revenue coming into Portland, Oregon to pay for things like basic services, the police department. Let's get into it. Here we go. City Council moves forward with cuts to Portland police staffing and overtime. No. You need more funding for the police department. But you got a $170 million budget deficit. Because you've got businesses leaving, you've got people leaving, you've got commercial buildings that are worth a fraction of what they once were. You've got a real estate market that is essentially stagnant. You don't have new businesses coming in. You don't have new job development. You don't have growth. So you got to make those cuts. Now you got even less to work with. You've got fewer police, now creating even greater public safety concerns. Everybody's doing the best they can. They kind of hodgepodge it together. But at the end of the day, less is not more. So when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is not good. And it's not. It's terrible for the city of Portland. It's terrible for the residents. It's terrible for businesses trying to hang on, because this is a situation that until you get some leadership in there that just basically puts their foot down and says, here's what we're going to do. This is going to be tough. We're going to have a tough next 4 years doing what we need to do, but here's what we're going to do. And creates a game plan for getting back on their feet that makes some absolutely harsh cuts, starts to change the narrative, which is, you got to square away the homelessness, the whole drug issue thing, the tax issue thing. But again, you're in a doom loop, downward cycle. So you've got to you got to increase those taxes to pay for dwindling sources of tax income. So you can see where the doom loop it's like Gary, Indiana, right? It's like Detroit. And people are saying the same thing about Seattle, Washington State. If you're not careful, that millionaire's tax, you've got the payroll tax. All these businesses have moved out of Seattle over to Bellevue. But now you've got incoming at the state level in Washington State. And that's what I keep my eye on, because you can't run from that. All right, Bellevue, great. East Side, epic neighborhood to be in. But if you've got a statewide income tax going to the millionaires pretty soon, despite what Bob Ferguson says, that's a statewide deal. You can't hide from that. So you got to go out of state. Where do you go? Oregon? We're talking about Oregon. California? Idaho? How are things in Boise? I think a lot of folks are just like, you know what? F the West Coast, F anything close to that, F anything adjacent to that. We're going to Texas, we're going to Florida, we're going to Nevada, going to Arizona, anywhere else, because we don't want to get swept up in this delusional progressive ideal of what things should be, when in reality, it doesn't pay the bills. And in Portland, they're not paying the bills to the tune of $170 million budget shortfall. Portland City Council took another step forward, finalizing its budget Wednesday, advancing a spending plan that includes millions of dollars in cuts to the Portland Police Bureau. I believe Mayor Keith Wilson is doing what he can. He's inherited a time bomb that is slowly going off. Just it's going off. These are things that have been implanted in the Portland society, and now they're dealing with it. So you got a $170 million budget shortfall. The plan would reduce funding for overtime. Oh my word. That's the only thing keeping so many of these police districts and communities safe, is massive amounts of overtime, because you don't have enough cops to begin with. You defunded the cops. Nobody wants to be a cop. You've got this mindset where cops are bad. Why would somebody want to come to your community and be a cop? Look at the nonsense happening in Portland with their ICE facility. You guys are crazy if you think you're going to be able to bring on a whole bunch more, police recruits, when you've got just these jackasses doing God knows what at your ICE facility. Those are law enforcement officers. You need to protect them. This whole notion of, these criminal illegals, we got to protect them, no. This is doing a job. They are deporting criminal illegals. So until you get that squared away, people don't want to be a cop in Oregon. You don't have enough money anyway. Whole thing is just, yeah. So we got for overtime, reduce funding for overtime. Perfect. Okay, excellent. And training. Oh, we need more police oversight. Oh, they did this. Oh, he lifted his elbow up in this manner, and therefore, racism, right? Just, it's mind-blowing. And eliminate most unarmed responder positions. Isn't that what all the libtards in Portland want, is unarmed positions? Oh, yeah. Don't give them a gun. Meaning a lot of, not cops on the street. But police departments have a ton of people that are important, that are critical, doing various functions, because not everybody is out on the street arresting the bad guy, right? It's a business, and you got to have support personnel for a business. But in Portland, Oregon, the budget debate comes as city leaders work to address a projected $170 million shortfall. You might say, it didn't sound like that much. Portland doesn't have a massive population. $170 million is a lot. So we are clipping millions and millions and millions of dollars from the police department, who is already understaffed, who is already running thin. And the only way that they can, basically float a force is overtime. Roll the dice and see how this goes. We'll just see. Portland Police Chief Bob Day said he supports Mayor Keith Wilson's proposed budget, but he acknowledged the cuts will affect police operations. All right, Keith, Mayor Keith, I know you got to do this, but it's going to have a negative impact on that whole thing called public safety. What's he going to say? Hey, Mayor, cuts have to be made across the board because you've created a situation with overregulation, created a situation with progressive ideology, which pushes out businesses. You don't want investment. You don't want any of that. And so then you're left with, you got a $170 million budget deficit. Good Lord, what are we going to do? You're going to have to cut. You got to cut. Among the reductions are significant cuts to the Bureau's non-sworn public safety support specialists. And that's the other personnels, right? Day said the Bureau faces an 80% reduction in those positions, along with nearly $6 million in cuts to materials and services, and almost $2 million less for overtime. Here's the kicker. That will result in about 20,000 hours less of police officers on the streets of the city of Portland, Day said. So, Portland residents, when you are bitching and complaining about calling 911 and people don't come for a day, this is why. This policy has impact. You guys have had this libtard, mentally incapacitated, progressive ideology, and this is the end result of that. 20,000 hours less of police officers on the streets of the city of Portland. You don't have to be a genius to recognize that a city that basically doesn't have its handle on law and order in general is now going to have 20,000 hours less of police officer coverage. Somehow that's a good idea. Actually, for Portland, it probably is, because you know what? You're like Seattle, like defund the police, greatest concept ever. And then you call 911. Yeah, we'll get to you in a week from Tuesday. No, this is what you get. This is what you bought and paid for. How are them apples? How's that working out for you? It's like all the people up in Aurora Avenue North here in Seattle that are complaining about public safety. They're complaining that the pimp on pimp violence is so bad that they're putting up their own imposed barricades to stop traffic on the side streets of a major human trafficking thoroughfare called Aurora Avenue North. And yet, which candidates did these folks vote for? Did you vote for the Republicans that were strong on public safety? No, you didn't, right? Did you vote for Trump? Oh, good Lord, no. Oh, the devil. The devil. So how's that working out for you? That's what I consistently want to say is actions have consequences, and we are seeing it in real time. Cuts come as Portland Police Bureau data show emergency response times have roughly doubled over the past decade. That's when I'm saying, we'll get to you a week from Tuesday. That response time just gets longer and longer because you don't have the number of officers, boots on the ground, to make it go. And you got to have money for all this. And all these progressives that thought that defunding the police was just the greatest thing ever. Oh, defund the police. I still see those damn signs over in Seattle. Those are people that are mentally retarded. They're retarded. They're just gone because it means they live in a less safe environment. Oh, yeah. We need to pour more resources into social services. We need to pour more resources into community development. No, you need more cops. Until you can get a handle on things, you need more cops. That's how this game is played. That's how reasonable people approach this. But since, Portland isn't reasonable, neither is Seattle, that's what we're doing, right? When asked whether Portlanders could see slower response times as a result of the reductions, Day said it's too early to know exactly how the impacts will unfold. Now, it'll be difficult to see how this manifests itself. I don't think so, Bob. I mean, the writing's on the wall. You already don't have enough police officers to provide basic public safety, and now you've got less support personnel, and you've got less overtime hours. Yeah, now you're on your own. Something bad happens, yeah, we'll get to you a week from Tuesday. Oftentimes in policing, decisions we make don't happen in the immediate, meaning he's saying down the road, we'll figure it out. See what the actual impacts are. Some counselors have proposed alternative funding options to avoid cuts to some of those positions. One idea raised by Councilor Angelita Murillo would have used interest earnings from the Portland Clean Energy Fund. You're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, or you've got some just harebrained sources of income coming in. The Portland Clean Energy Fund, why do we have these? You know what I mean? Just like, we tried to do some negotiations last night, and this morning we're ghosted by our colleagues, unable to come to that conclusion. So I'm extremely disappointed that we are unable to save these core services for Portlanders and the jobs of these employees who have dedicated decades of their lives to this work. Talking about, can't quite cut it, right? So if you start borrowing from future fiscal years, you're just creating a hole in those future years. If we borrow on unearned interest, it's double jeopardy. You're taking funds from the future to fund today, which just means you will double the cuts tomorrow. What's Texas doing budget-wise? 24, Oklahoma has such a surplus that they're creating a fund where they're going to take the interest from that and be able to eliminate their state income tax of 4.5%. That's being thrown around. They're not dealing with a $170 million budget deficit. Why is that? Because you've got growth in those states. Oregon? Portland? No, you do not. You've got buildings being sold in Portland, Oregon for an absolute fraction of their reproduction cost to build it. Just pennies on the dollar. Reduction in tax revenue. Got to be spread out over the citizens who still need a house to live in. Property taxes go up. Services get cut. They get fewer services. More for less. Not the direction you want to go. Mayor's proposed budget remains under consideration as city leaders continue debating how to close Portland's budget shortfall while maintaining public safety and city services. You can only do so much. When you got a $170 million budget deficit, it's going to be brutal. It's the way it is. It's just how this game is played. There's no, dicking around with, we'll take it for, not going to happen. I think that this council left a lot on the table when it comes to police training and our ability to continue to hire officers. Hey, yeah, go work in Portland. You're going to get your ass worked into the ground, and you're not going to get a raise because we don't have money, and there's no real upward movement. And yeah, there's not a lot of overtime, but hey, come work for Portland. For a bonus, you get to work with just a bunch of whacked out nut job drug addicts who basically run the streets. Oh, it's going to be great. I mean, epic. Come work for Portland Police Department. Portland public safety specialists have been reducing significantly. Councilor Clark brought multiple chances for this council to refund those positions, put them back in place, shot down by the Peacock Progressive Caucus. We're so progressive. We hate police. How's that working out for you, boys? If you will, of course, the council. So we're going to keep on taking a stab at that. They're going back and forth on what do we do? What do we do? They're in a doom loop. They won't admit it, but you don't have to admit it. You can see it. Oh, we got cuts. Police department. Second reading during which the council can vote to adopt amendments to the budget scheduled for next Wednesday evening. City has until the end of the month to finalize the budget. You're going to have to make some absolutely brutal cuts. No way, shape, or form about it. And this is the essence of an urban doom loop. Because now those buildings that need to get filled up so that they can recreate their tax structure, and all the businesses on the main level, the ones that support all the employees in the upper portion of the buildings, can repopulate. Taxes come in from that. All that tax structure takes pressure off of the citizens. And now you've got a situation where you're reversing the doom loop. But in Portland's case, it's accelerating. It's accelerating because you've got progressive leadership that only knows one thing, and that's how to drive cities into the ground, because none of their policies work. Give me a progressive-run city in North America that is thriving, that population is expanding. Give me one that's doing really well. There isn't one. You know why? Because they're mentally incapacitated. Their policies do not work. In real time, we are watching this. It's happening. Like, it's going down. And the progressives are like, I think we need to take a... Is that working out for you? Not good. But glass half full. I got podcasts for glass half... half full. Podcasts forever, because we are watching this in real time, and the demise is slow, but it's effective. And it's not going to work its way out until you get leadership in there that can really bite the bullet and make things happen. And you know what? Portland isn't there yet. Portland's not there yet.